Welcome back, everyone. Michael here with Offshore Citizen. Today I'm going to discuss with you the history of citizenship by investment programs. So just kind of give you some background on where this came from, how long it's been around, how it's evolved over time, show you a little bit of the hypocrisy of Western nations that have criticized it, and so we will dive in from there. So first things first, before we do that, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Really appreciate your subscription, really appreciate your support. We're really trying to grow the channel, and yeah, just really appreciate you when you reach out and when you help people find us and things like that. If you'd like help with any of the things that we deal with, which is, international structuring, paying the lowest legal amount of tax possible, asset protection, banking, forming companies, or else relocating abroad, getting residencies, getting citizenships, etc., please reach out to me. You can book a call at calendly.com/Michael-Rosmer. There's a link in the description below, or send us a message to our website, offshorecitizen.net or offshorecapitalist.com. Okay. So the first citizenship by investment program was where? Can you guess? St. Kitts. So in 1984, St. Kitts launched the first citizenship by investment program. And so they've had the longest running history of this. And, they kind of market that as their platinum brand, et cetera. And honestly, I think St. Kitts is a great option. So, when clients contact us, often that's one of the ones, it's probably the most popular one that we deal with. Okay. And it has the best visa-free access in the Caribbean, and it's pretty reasonable cost and things like this. So I've done some videos on that, and I'll do some more in the future. Interestingly, what was the second program to come out? Okay, the second program, Canada. So in 1986, Canada created the Federal Immigrant Investor Program with the intention of attracting high net worth individuals to raise investment capital. So anytime you hear anything from countries like this, just keep in mind the number 2 place was Canada to do this. And to give you some idea on the stats, what have I got here? It is like 57,000 people came in under this program between 1986 and 1996, mostly from Hong Kong, but 20,000 were from Taiwan, and so lots of people from Asia. So anyway, anytime some Western country throws something up, just remind them of this. In 1988, what was the next one? Ireland. Ireland offered naturalization and citizenship to significant investors under a controversial program, which, by the way, to this day, you can get residency in Ireland. I have a guy that we work with, kind of part of our network in UK, and I was having a conversation with him one day. We're like, hey, listen, how hard is it to get residency in UK? And he's like, frankly, Michael, if you have a lot of money, it's super easy. And so, that tells you a little bit of context around how this goes. So all this European values aren't for sale thing is a convenient way of going and attacking countries that they dislike. Anyway, in 1990, guess who was next? The United States launched the EB-5 program for immigrant investors. There was 10,000 people went through that program over, I forget which period. 1983, Dominica becomes the second Caribbean country to offer citizenship by investment to people. They had immigrant investors peaked in Canada also that year with 12,500 residencies granted, of which more than 3,000 were principal applicants, and citizens from Hong Kong and Taiwan made up 83% of the applicants, so quite a few. Then in 1994, the United Kingdom introduced the visa scheme for individuals investing at least 1 million British pounds. Then 1996, Grenada announced a Citizenship Act to allow citizenship by investment. Then 1998, Ireland ended their program. 1999, New Zealand introduced an investor category for business immigration policy, streamlining immigration for high net worth individuals making significant investments. So again, what are you guys talking about? You guys are all sellouts and you're busy attacking other people. So it's fine. I think it's good. It's a free, if somebody's going to bring value to your country, why wouldn't you let them in? Makes perfect sense to me. In 1991, Grenada closed their program amid risks in the wake of the terrorist attacks in the US. Obviously, lots of stuff there. Obviously, Grenada's open again. Now, interesting thing that happened in 2001 that I will pull up, which is Comoros brought in. So they brought in their program at that point in time, which was quite interesting. So Comoros is not a program that's open, at least officially now, but it was really, really affordable option. And so let's just quickly go through their timelines here. And so under the total period of time, they were open from 2001 until 2018, I believe it was. They did 52,000 passports in that time. So that was quite interesting. The first phase was mainly between, so they brought in the legislation in 2001, but the main phase of the scheme originally was from 2006 to 2011, which was meant to bring in $200 million. I was mentioning in another video like just how significant this money is to small countries. It makes a really big difference to them. In return to giving 4,000 citizenships to stateless families. So please note, you have countries like Slovenia where you have this whole group of people who are stateless because basically when they broke off from Yugoslavia, they basically went through and said if you didn't kind of like claim your citizenship in a certain period of time, that was it. And so you have all these people, it's a big scandal that went on there, and they got sued at the European court and all this kind of thing. So these guys offered this. Now, interestingly, this was a really interesting thing. So one of the big things about Comoros was that Kuwait ended up buying 36,000 passports for several $100 million from them to give to stateless people in Kuwait. You had something similar. UAE and Kuwait both entered an agreement to give passports to all kinds of their people. And so what's the numbers here? Someplace, yeah, today more than 40,000 people in UAE carry Comorian passports. Their program was closed in January of 2018. So that's the history on Comoros, which some people are maybe not aware of. But interestingly, that UAE and Kuwait bought citizenships for all these stateless people. And you might say that's a very nice thing to do, but really, in reality, it was probably pretty much not to have to give them, their own citizenships. So, some strategy there. Then let's see here. So in 2003, Hong Kong launched the Capital Investment Entrance Scheme, and the numbers had declined in Canada quite a bit, as well as the United States, since the mid-2000s. And so they saw their lowest number of applicants. Canada granted only 1,000 residencies during that time to primary visitors, and the US did only 71 EB5 visas that year. In 2004, Singapore introduced the Financial Investor Scheme for permanent residents. In 2009, Bulgaria launched the Investor Program for Residence and Citizenship, later amending the program in 2013 to offer fast-track citizenship. By the way, the Bulgarian program is arguably pretty underrated, just in like raw costs. If you think about this, I mean, it's an EU passport, which is, pretty significant. Okay, it takes some time, it's not super fast, but you do get most of the money back. So you're basically just in it for the fees and the opportunity cost on the money. They recently modified it. I'll do another video on it because I did one before, but arguably an underrated program that not many people talk about, probably because they don't generate a bunch of fees off of it. So, that's that. Latvia launched residency scheme for real estate investors in 2010. In 2011, Cyprus introduced their program. In 2012, Singapore scrapped their scheme and launched in 2010. They'd launched another program with more stringent requirements. Australia in that year launched the Significant Investor Program. Hungary, Ireland, Portugal opened residency by investment programs. Antigua announced Citizenship by Investment Program. In 2013, Grenada launched a new Citizenship by Investment Program. Greece and Spain became the latest European countries to offer residency to investors. In 2014, Canada closed their federal program, and the Quebec program was the one that remained. That same year, Malta launched their individual investor program. 2015, Hong Kong suspended their program. And so that's not all the way, it's not all the details. Obviously, there's a bunch missing in there. We haven't mentioned Portugal, we haven't mentioned a bunch of these different programs that came up. We haven't mentioned Vanuatu, etc. But gives you a little bit of history of kind of going back how this has evolved. And of course, some of these aren't instant, like in Canada, it's not like instant citizenship, but you'd have this thing where in a bunch of these cases, no physical presence was actually required in the country, and you could move towards citizenship. And so there was like a bunch of stuff like that that seems, look, I think it's perfectly good that you would allow that. I don't see really why you wouldn't want people who are going to bring wealth to your country to come there. but it's interesting to see how the lens has changed over time. So anyway, I hope that gives you a little bit of an interesting background and history as to how citizenship by investment programs have evolved. Obviously, they've been around for quite a while, starting with St. Kitts, and have a long history of major developed countries offering them. And to this day, most of them offer some sort of an investor program. I've done videos about lots of them, and I'll continue to do videos about a bunch of the different programs. So I hope you find that interesting. If you have questions, put them in the comments below. I'm going to look forward to seeing you guys on the next video.